when we're talking about nomenclature of aromatic compounds, and aromatic compounds are also called arenes, we're going to have the base structure, which is benzene in a lot of these compounds. And in another video, I'll go into some non-monocyclic compounds such as naphthalene, and some other annulenes maybe later on. But benzene is simply a cyclo compound with three double bonds. And if you were to name this in your organic chemistry 1 class, you would be tempted to name this 1,3,5 cyclohexatriene. It has 3 double bonds, which gives it the tri, and they're at the 1, 3, and the 5 position. So you would name this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you got a double bond at the 1, at the 3, and at the 5 position. It's a cyclo compound. It's got 6 carbon ring, and it's got double bonds, which means it's an ene ending, E-N-E. But we don't name it this, and the reason we don't name it this is because these double bonds have resonance. They move around in the ring like this. So if you would redraw this, you would have a situation where these double bonds would move here, then they would move here, then they would move here, and then you can also do that again where they move back and forth or whatever direction. So a lot of times this benzene ring, instead of written like this, is just written like this with a circle. And this indicates that these three or this 246 pi electrons can be really anywhere in this ring at any given time. And this is what gives this compound a lot of stability. It gives it what we call special stability. So what if we added a bromine group onto this benzene ring? If we added a bromine group onto it, this would simply be 1-bromo-benzene. 1-bromo-benzene. You would start numbering at the substituent that's the only substituent that's on the ring, and name that 1. Really, the 1 is redundant. You can just name this bromobenzene, but it's a good idea to just go ahead and it's good practice to go ahead and just put the 1 in there. So if we get over here, if we have 2 substituents, we can just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this would be 1-bromo, 3-chlorobenzene. Now, could you have named it or started numbering from this way? It started numbering at the chlorine 2, 3. You could do that because the halogens have equal ranking. But since we have a B and a C, you're always going to alphabetize your substituents if they're of equal ranking. So you alphabetize it when you're naming your compound. So you can just start naming from there. You're going to deal with a lot of common names in organic or organic 2 when you deal with your arenes. And a lot of these common names have been adopted into the IUPAC system because they're so well known. So instead of calling it by its technical IUPAC name, you'll just call it by its common name. For example, if you add a methyl group onto a benzene, this will be called toluene. Toluene. You can call it methylbenzene. But toluene is the common name, and the most likely you're going to hear this be called toluene instead of methylbenzene. What if you had substituents on this? Whatever substituent changes the name of the compound is where you start numbering from. So on this methyl, that would be number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This methyl group here gives it its name, so that's the highest ranking group on this particular compound, and that's where you start numbering. So this will be 2-chloro, 4-bromo, 4-bromo toluene. Right, 2-chloro, 4-bromo toluene. Actually, would not be that. It actually would be 4-bromo. Remember, you alphabetize it first. 4-bromo, 2-chloro, 2-chloro toluene. Yeah. So if you're not, even though you number it, the chlorine first, because you want to start numbering in the direction where you run into the most substituents first. So you wouldn't number it this way. You would number it this way because the chlorine is on the number 2 carbon. But even though you number it that way, you still got to alphabetize it. So B comes before C. B comes before C. So what is this compound here? If you add an OH on there, that becomes the highest ranking group. Of course, by itself, this is called phenol. Phenol. It's also called benzenol, and you can call it that, benzenol, benzene ring with an alcohol on it, but the common name for it is phenol. What if you added some substituents to it, some substituents? So it would be the same way. You would add OH, this would be a phenol. Say if I added a bromo over here and a chloro over here, you would start numbering in the direction where you run into the most substituents first. In this situation, you would start from the left because you run into this chlorine before you do the bromine. The bromine is on the number 4, and the chlorine is on number 3. But the bromine is alphabetized first, so this would be 4-bromo, 3-chloro, 3-chloro, phenol, 4-bromo, 3-chloro, phenol. Remember, you have to alphabetize it. We get down here. Now, this is, if you remember this from Organic 1, this is a vinyl group. This is a vinyl group. And you could call this vinyl benzene. Since this is a vinyl group, you could call this vinyl. And this is a benzene group. You could call this vinyl benzene. And you would not be wrong. However, it's rarely called vinyl benzene, and instead it's called styrene. Styrene. This is the common name for it. Another one that we're going to see often is acetophenone. Acetophenone. And you can also call this methyl. You can also call this methyl phenol ketone, because this is a ketone group. This is a ketone group. But it's called acetophenone. But if you call it methyl phenol, so the methyl group is here, the phenol group is here, you could call it, so this is the methyl, this is the phenol, and this is the ketone. You could call it methyl phenol ketone as well, and that would be more of a functional class name. But the common name is acetophenone. And you can look these up and probably get a more comprehensive list of the common names in some of these compounds. But just to kind of get you started, and we'll do one more here. Is kind of well known as well. So we're going to have a nitro group, and this would be an amine. So this is an amine group. and this is benzene amine, but it's not called that. So this is amino group or amine, and this would be aniline. Aniline. So this is amino. I said nitro group, but this is an amino group. Two opposite ends of the spectrum. Actually, an amino group and a nitro group is not the same. A nitro group would be this here. Sometimes I get those confused. This is a nitro group, but this right here is an amino group. And when you start studying, ortho-para directing, this is actually a very strongly activating group here. Very strongly activating group. And it's called aniline. Anyway, some basic overall nomenclature. Probably a first of several videos here I'll do on aromatic compounds as relates to nomenclature.